Wait, I'm a doctor. He's dead. What a shame.
Don't you hate it when that happens? There are 200,000 Americans that are hospitalized per year due to food-related allergies. Researchers estimate that there are still 10,000 people still hospitalized due to this. This is an epidemic in America, and we are here to change that. With our invention, not only will we help save the embarrassment of having to ask what's in your food in public areas, but we're also helping save lives. This project matters to us because we care about everyone living a healthy lifestyle.
So what is our product? It's a utensil. It can be a fork, a knife, or a spoon. Not to this size, but it's just so you can see it. And the idea is, if you're eating your meal, you can poke it with your knife, or if you have a bowl of stew, you can just stir it a couple times, and you should get a good chemical readout of what's in it if you're allergic to anything in it. And the idea behind how it would work is we would use a mass spectrometer or a molecular sensor in kind of this part of the spoon or the prodding part of the knife or a fork, and then the power would be up here in the handle portion, and you had some kind of coating that can sense through it. And we were going to go originally with some kind of chemicals at the end that would react to certain allergens, but that would just been way too complicated, and you would have to account for there being more than one in the food, and there's just so many allergens out there that there's no way you could make a coating that would react to every single one. So there's a device called the Skyo on the market, and the way it works, it's similar to ours, but it's a sensor. It actually just sends a ray of light, and it excites the molecules in a way so they can get, I think, from the shadows of the molecules, determine what they are. And seeing that, and that's just a scan, we thought it'd be you could make that way easier if it's actually in physical contact with it. So the idea is, you can just put your spoon in, and then it'll scan in all areas with it. If you have a plate of food, or you have a bowl of stew or something, and allergic to something specific, like a peanut, or something along those lines, and it could be in one part of the food, but not another part, like mashed potatoes. Could be some allergic in one part, not the other, and if you just scan one part of it, you're not going to know about the other part. But the idea is, if there are traces of it in your food, like if you have a spoon, you can stir your stew a couple times. It'll get a readout of the whole time it's going through, and it'll be scanning for specific signatures known that you would be allergic to, because we're going to have this other part of it called a docking station that you can actually get a blood sample, or you can get it coded specifically for maybe a retailer that sells it or something. But easiest way, you could give it a sample of your blood, it would scan it, just look for specific things you would be allergic to, and then when it's docked for charging, because it's going to have a power source, so you're thinking it could charge on a docking station while it's not being used. So it'd be charging, and then it could also run through and then update itself for new allergens, because allergens develop with age and some fade away with age, because some people are allergic to peanuts when they're young, they're not when they're older, and some new things come around like lactose intolerance. So we would test for that, we would dock it, but the idea is you'd stir it, it would scan for it, it would sense it and be, hey, don't eat that, there's something in there, it's going to be harmful to you. And then it'll give you some indication, like a light or something of the sort, that will be a very clear indication not to eat it.
So, in solving the problem, we decided to take a 3-step process in how we're going to go about it. First things first is we decided to research. The things we researched include what solutions have already been implemented. We've also looked at how do other people test for potential allergens. And what we came across was one company that was recently featured on Kickstarter a few years ago has a mass spectrometer, essentially, that will scan your food and tell you the compounds in it, and it'll send that data to the cloud. They'll analyze it and send it to your cell phone. And the way they do that, or never mind. So other things that we researched include how tests are performed for tests for allergens, and we looked at the Perceptin test, which is essentially a test that can be used for total detection, and it's customized to the user. So what you do there is you grab some antibodies, preferably from your blood, and then what it'll do is it'll mix with the antigen solution, so whatever protein and stuff you're pulling off from your food, and it'll mix together, and if a reaction occurs, then a color change will happen. Similarly, there's also a enzyme immunoassay, which is the most commonly used thing on the market right now for home use. It's called the ELISA test, and you can go grab one of those kits for about $50. Those kits will give you pretty much everything you need. The problem is, and it works the same way as the Perceptin test, but the problem is it takes a lot of time to set up. You need to store everything correctly, and you also need to store everything correctly, and you also need to prepare the solutions before you use it. So in the end, we decided to go with closer towards a mass spec point of view. So in our implementation process, we looked at how it's going to be useful, what kind of features we'd put on there. And as Grant already said, we're going to have a spoon, and that spoon will essentially detect, it'll scan the food, and it'll essentially detect what the chemical composition of it is. And what it'll do there is it'll read out, and along the lines of the spoon, there'll be different colored bands, and it'll show you what proteins are in there. And not only that, but it can also match and analyze that with what you're allergic to. Once you put in your blood into the docking station, and it'll give you like a big red light at the very tip of the spoon if you are potentially allergic to this whatever you're eating inside. And lastly, we worked on the evaluation, which we looked at to see if our product was successful and it was something that we'd be interested in taking a look at in the future. There's definitely a need in the world for something like this because it is such a huge problem. As Samantha said earlier, 200,000 people each year is hospitalized because of just food allergies, and generally people are careful with all of this, but the problem is they might not know exactly what's in it, and negligence from food companies like the candy company, they might not have said that there was peanuts in there or something like that, and just bad stuff happens. So with our product, we're going to try to eliminate all of that. So in terms of the needs, it's there, and the implementation of it, while it's a little beyond our reach right now, it's definitely something that can be easily worked towards. The biggest problem that we're going to run into is how to put a mass spectrometer into the size of a spoon and make it affordable.
So that's our product, and that's how we plan to make household lives better for everyone.